Hello, everybody. Welcome and good evening. Hello, Simon.
Oh, how you doing?
Very well, thank you. All the better for seeing you on this fine Friday evening.
It's a beautiful, sunny Lake District evening. So yeah, most beautiful part of the world to be in when it's warm and sunny for sure.
Oh, gorgeous. Yeah, my family are from the Lake District, so that's where I've never lived there, sadly, but my both my parents are from the lakes, so it's holds a very special place in my heart. Well, good evening, members, and welcome to what I suspect will probably be one of the highlights of our tastings and events calendar for 2022. I'm going to whiz through a bit of housekeeping before we begin, but thank you all for joining so punctually. Firstly, if you didn't receive the email that I sent yesterday highlighting the cooking times and the breaks and what to pour when, then please email tastings2@thewinesociety.com as soon as possible, and our lovely Emma Briffett behind the scenes will be able to forward you a copy. Secondly, I see lots of you using it already. Please do use the chat. Let us know where you are, what you're drinking, whether you've got our pairings, how you're finding the evening. But please do remember to hit everyone in the chat, not just hosts and panelists. Otherwise, we'll miss your lovely comments and your fellow members will. If you have any questions, please do use the Q&A box, which Emma is going to monitor for us this evening. It's really helpful. And then lastly, we are going to be keeping to the proposed running order. So we've been generous, but if you do at any point find that you're falling behind in the cooking, then you can jump straight to our YouTube channel. And with the YouTube live streaming, then you can hit pause on YouTube, and that makes a huge difference because that means that you can have a little break if you need to. You won't be able to use the chat function, but you will be able to have the pause. Just quickly, Simon, we've got a question about whether the 180, just before I introduce you, and I apologise, just a 180, is that a 180 fan oven, just to check?
Yeah, 180 fan oven, yeah.
Perfect. So 180 fan for members who are rustling around in the kitchen. But enough small talk. We're hungry and we're thirsty. So we are absolutely honoured this evening, not only to be able to pair our wines alongside the delicious food of Home by Simon, which we did last September, but actually to be joined by the man himself. Simon is certainly one of the most celebrated chefs in not only the UK, but the whole world. And I know that members, many of you will have eaten at Simon's restaurants, which over the years have spanned the breadth of the country and the world, quite frankly, but perhaps none more famous than L'Enclume in Cumbria, which was not only awarded the best restaurant in the UK in 2014 and 15, but this year got its third Michelin star. So as I introduce the man himself, I'm sure members, you will all join me in raising a glass, not only to thank Simon for joining us this evening before he rushes off to the restaurant, which is madness, but also to say congratulations on your incredible accolade. So cheers.
Thank you. And a glass of one of my favourites, Night Timber. So I have got a house down near the Night Timber vineyard. I did a function down there not so long ago, and it's an amazing setup and one of my favourites. So thank you for making up the first pairing. That's great.
Oh, good. I'm really pleased. That was by chance. So there we go. So what we're going to do this evening is we're going to have 3 breaks, which will allow you to cook the meals and cook the courses. And that is going to be really important. And we're going to talk each wine and food after the breaks. So I'll do a quick introduction to Night Timber now, just because we've got a spare minute or two, but I'll talk about it properly in a moment. But if you are enjoying a glass of Night Timber, it's from it's actually a blend of West Sussex and Hampshire. So I'll talk properly about how the wine is made, but it seemed fitting with Simon's background of sort of celebrating England that we would serve an English wine. So what I will do now is, in the interests of time, I'll let members go off. I think a few people have wanted instructions. What I'll do is I'll allow members to head off now to rejoin us at 7:15, when Simon will do a lovely introduction to the foods and to him and his career and restaurants, of course. And then we'll talk a little bit more about each of the pairings as well. So cheers, members. Enjoy. I hope you have a little glass of something whilst you're preparing your first course. And Simon, we'll see you in just a moment.
You certainly shall.
Thanks, Simon.
Thank you.
Hello again, everybody. I am hoping that you will have hopefully managed to do the first course better than my husband anyway, who got a bit distracted feeding the dogs. So he's just had a telling off. So I'm going to receive a glamorous assistant dish in just a moment. But hopefully, members, you've all sat or are starting to sit now. But before we get going and before we do the pairing, hopefully it's still nice and warm. But Simon, I thought you could just do a little quick run through on your background and where you are now, and also how Home by Simon Rogan came about.
Oh God, how long have you got? It's been a long and windy road. Obviously, Longcloone's 20 years old this year, come September. So yeah, there's a few stories to tell from there alone. But it all started a long time ago. I was born in Hampshire. I was born in Southampton. My father was a fruit and vegetable salesman. So I didn't really realise at the time he was probably the person the most that got me into cooking, because one of the perks of his job was coming home with a goodie bag of fruit and vegetables. A lot of the time used to sit in the back of the fridge rotting because we didn't really know what they were and what to do with them. But that got the inquisitive nature of being a chef and finding out what to do with them and you know what they were all about. And I didn't say, even back then, I didn't like things going to waste. So I've always been sort of a sustainable kind of guy. So got a job part-time in a Greek restaurant when I was 13 back then. It was almost, could almost be going up chimneys in the Victorian times. But yeah, 13, and I liked the job as a part-time in a Greek restaurant. And I thought this is the life, and came to finishing school and going to college, university. No, I wanted to be a chef because I enjoyed it, like the lifestyle. I have to say, the two guys that owned the Greek restaurants were a bit sort of, good-looking Greek guys, bit of a playboy, and I sort of like looked at them as my big brother, and we used to go playing snooker late at night and nightclubs when I was 15, 16, and I shouldn't say, but it was a brilliant life. But then it got a bit more serious, and it's time to go to college, get a qualification. Got to college. I thought I was going to stroll it, because I've been working in a restaurant for a long time, surrounded by people a lot better than what I was, who had good jobs in country house hotels in the New Forest and surrounding areas. And I hated that. I hated being the bottom of the class. And that ignited the competitive nature in me, and I wanted to get to the top of the class, and I wanted to make myself the best chef that I could possibly be. So I left the job and all that money and the lifestyle, and got a job as an apprentice to a chef that worked at the Savoy for 12 years in the New Forest. And all of a sudden I was getting paid absolutely no money. It was too late. I was well and truly bitten and head over heels in love with what I was doing. And I just wanted once again to be the best chef that I could possibly be. And then my career took lots of twists and turns. Probably the biggest one was replying to a job offer from Jean-Christophe Novelli, who I worked for over the space of about 8 years. So he gave me my first real taste of really modern cuisine. I had a really good classical grounding from the apprenticeship at the New Forest Hotel, but then it was time to do something a little bit different. And JC was obviously one of the best chefs at that time. Getting a lot of press, just like Marco Pierre White in sort of that era. And he sort of opened my eyes up to the world and being a chef, and a little bit more than cooking, more personality, PR. It was to try and achieve the all-round package. So yeah, I worked with him on and off for 8 years. A few other big names, Paris for 2 years, a 3-star there. And then it was time to come back and make my own name. Primarily at the beginning, working for other people. but I didn't really get anywhere. I took a few duffers. They probably said the same about me. It's like, oh my God, what do we employ him for? But I never really found the right place. And I suppose I was always destined to work for myself. And that's how Long Clean came about, even though it was 350 miles from where I actually wanted to go. So, it was a big risk going to the Lake District, and opening a restaurant there. It was even more of a risk with the style of the restaurant that I was proposing. So luckily it paid off. And 20 years of Long Clean, we'll have lots of stories, but we haven't got all night.
Well, before we go, I did say we were going to talk about Home by Simon Rogan, but maybe we can talk about that after we've talked about the first wines, because I'm conscious people might have them in their bowls. I know I could just listen to your story all night, so I'm sure we'll dip in and out of it throughout the course of the evening. I will quickly tell you, and I will be really brief about Night Timber. I'm sure lots of people are probably familiar with the brand nowadays. It's now owned by a gentleman called Eric Harima, who has actually expanded it. The estate itself goes back to the Doomsday Book, but it's now 400 acres, so the largest UK estate-grown fruit sparkling wine producer. Approximately 60 Chardonnay, 30 Pinot Noir, 10 Pinot Meunier, and it's been about 10 decades in the making because they wanted to wait until they had these lovely reserve wines, i.e. the older wines, to blend into it. So for me, it's perfect aperitif. It's creamy, it's brioche, it's really brisk and refreshing, but it's not too tart. I actually served it at my little English wedding that I had last year, and it's my husband's favorite sparkling wine. So I thought, given your provenance and your your absolute kind of love of all things English produce, it made sense to start with a British wine. So
any English sparkling. I continually rib my French friends about us very rapidly overtaking their best sparkling wines. Is
that a popular opinion?
I think they know it's coming. I think they're resigned to it. I'm from Hampshire, obviously, and Penny, my wife's from Sussex.
Oh, brilliant!
And we've got a second home, literally 10 minutes away from Night Timber. So I know the estate very well, like I said, and a lot of the estates around there. And so we've got our own blend with Exton Park as well, just along the coast. So massive fan of English sparkling, and why wouldn't you be? It's an amazing product.
Brill. Well, Simon, would you mind telling us a little bit about, we've obviously got the eel and the turnip today, but would you mind telling members a little bit about the flavors? I can hear mine coming. But we can start with a bit of the bread, because I do have to say your butters always blow my mind. But then talk a little bit about the flavors and the dish itself. And thank you, husband. And I will talk about the wines afterwards, if that's all right.
Yeah, so obviously you mentioned the sourdough bread. We've had our starter, I think now is probably about 15 years old, and it was started from an apple tree, which is in the garden at Long Clean. So fermenting apples actually was the basis of our starter for the sourdough bread. Literally, probably longer now, about 18 years ago, actually. So well established, and the lovely Wintertarn butter, which is quite close to us up here. A nice, quite pungent, quite strong butter, fully flavored. See, at the restaurants we make all our own butter, but the actual at home range is quite popular, so we can't keep up. But the Wintertarn, if everyone was going to buy a butter, it would be that. So we're very proud to have it in our boxes. And then obviously the starter is Jersey roll potatoes. I always look forward to the spring, and they are from Jersey. It's a long way away from us, but they're just amazing. And the way we cook them very slowly, confit them for 2 hours, 90 degrees in a water bath in rapeseed oil and aromats, garlic, herbs, and it's a beautiful way to eat the potato. Such a tasty thing. And then the smoked eel, one of my favorite fishes, gives it that real, obviously, smokiness, but it's got a real fatty nature to it, really sort of gives it that depth. And then the buttermilk sauce gives that acidity, and the deal for the sort of aniseed flavors that are coming through at the end, and with the parsley as well. So real spring on a plate for me, the sign of big things to come. We haven't really, our farm that we have up here hasn't really exploded yet. Unfortunately, we get frosts up here in early May. So we start to get things through late May, sort of middle of June. So at the moment, Jersey raw potatoes, who cares if they come from Jersey? They're amazing.
They definitely are. I have to say, Simon, when Brooke sent me the dish to pair this with, this was a revelation to me. I don't cook with eel, and it made me think, why on earth not? It really is fabulous. We had a member earlier ask where the eel is from. Cornwall, there we go.
Yeah.
And how do you smoke it? What's the process there?
It comes in smoked to us. It's a product from Cornwall, and it's already smoked. So we have got eels. We have a river that runs by the back of Longclue, and we have lots of eels in our river, but they're not that nice to eat. So we'll keep it to the Cornish ones, I think.
Good stuff.
I mean, everything you add smoked eel to is, like I say, a revelation. It really enhances every dish, and so it really gives that depth of flavour. It's so tasty. It's amazing. And
such a lovely texture, I find, as well. It's got that incredible softness, but it's got enough density to it.
It's got that seasoning as well. It's a nice amount of salt added to it as well. So it's an all-round flavour, I think.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, I mentioned to Simon before the call members that when we do these pairings, I got the box in advance and I had a list of wines that I thought would work. And I'd read up Fiona Beckett, fabulous food and wine pairer, and she said Chablis is wonderful with smoked eel. And she also said Rieslings, particularly quite mineral Rieslings. And I did try those wines with it. But in the end, I actually chose might be a surprise and it might not, and I'll hopefully try and explain why I chose it, but I chose a wine from Grave in Medoc, and it's a white blend. It's 45% Semillon and 55 Semillon, 45 Sauvignon Blanc, and it's a producer called Clos Floridén. Well, actually it's not really a producer. The brand is Clos Floridén, and it's owned by a group that was started by the late Denis Dubourdieu. Denis Dubourdieu is kind of known as the man of white and sweet wines in Bordeaux. He was the consultant that changed how Chateau Yquem is made, but he really does specialize in incredible white wines. And this particular label, sadly, he's passed away a few years ago, but what's special about this label is it's named after his children, Florence and Denis, and he established it in 1982. So it's made on the left bank. So Grave, many members might know, very famous for red wines, but here it's grown on some limestone soils that are far more suited to the whites, and they have this kind of minerality. And I hasten to use the word smokiness because it's not a smoky wine, but it has this sort of savory, earthy, slightly smoky character to it that actually for me went really, really well with the eel. It's also been aged in barrel for 9 months, which perhaps you wouldn't suspect with nearly 50% Sauvignon Blanc. But the way he produces this wine is to basically add opulence. So the flavor coming from the Sauvignon would be things like lemon, fresh apple, maybe slightly floral. If you're getting that, I wouldn't say no to that. Whereas the Semillon, I think that's what's adding the smoky nose. Ever so slightly, and it's adding this sort of richness, and the texture I think worked really well for me because it is a denser style of Bordeaux white wine. And you just phrased it perfectly, Simon, because you sort of said spring in a bowl or spring on a plate for your dish. I feel like these wines are kind of spring in a glass for me because they have enough oomph for not being, summer sippers. That this certainly could be enjoyed over summer, and there are plenty of things I would have this with, in the barbecue season. But actually, it's a really good transition wine for me. So I hope people like the pairing. It was a bit left field, but I actually think there are so many herbaceous characters that go with some of the herbs in here. Those kind of dill characters can sometimes be a bit tricky when you're pairing wine, or aniseed flavors. And actually, if you have a complex wine like this, I think it's well worth the price to bump up and go for a slightly more expensive white Bordeaux that's had all this attention paid to it. So yeah, I hope you enjoy it. Simon can't drink too much this evening because he's got to go straight to work after this call.
Yeah, I'm saving myself for the red.
For the Chianti, yeah. You were looking forward to that one.
Yeah.
So members, I hope you're enjoying it. Do let us know what you think. I'm suggesting the white might go well with the lamb as well. We're going to pair both the wines. Another reason I sort of picked it, it's a bit of a I can do anything wine. So do hold on to your glass, or re-pour a glass in a minute, but we'll tell you about that. But for the next 10, I'd love to hear a little bit more, Simon, basically about how Home by Simon came about, and a little bit about what you're doing up there. It's quite different. I know it was sort of born out of lockdown, but I'll let you tell the story.
Yeah, certainly it was born out of lockdown and out of complete panic, really. So I sort of didn't know really. I should have known what to expect, because I was in Hong Kong at our restaurant out there when the whole crisis kicked off in Wuhan, and it was always like, well, shall I go out there? And maybe I shouldn't. I'm sort of thinking it would never come to the UK. So I did actually go on the trip, and I came back to the UK, and just thought, well, that's their problem. It's not going to affect us. But little did I know that it would affect us about 1,000,000 times worse than over there. So when things got serious and we were all panicking a little bit, and then Boris told us to actually close, it was the spring. We had a farm just ready to erupt, and we were very, very busy as well at the time. So freezers and fridges full of food. So it was like, well, we need to use all this stuff. So Sam Ward, the MD, sort of came to me with the idea of getting in contact with the local vicar, and looking at the local population and seeing, the vulnerable and the needy that might not be able to, feed themselves or look after themselves. So we came up with a ready meal, which cost £5, but we didn't really make any profit on that. The profit we did go on went towards free ones for those sort of people, and they were so popular we couldn't believe it. And obviously that led us to thinking about doing something a bit more adventurous, a bit more technical. And we had an empty kitchen, we had a workforce, we had lots of food. So Simon Rogan was born. Simon Rogan at Home was born. It was during lockdown. It was absolutely incredible. We're selling out 1,000, 1,200 meals a week. And we thought, well, we never thought we'd be doing this sort of a year ago. First lockdown finished, but there was still a request for it when the restaurants opened again. Of course, we didn't have anywhere to do it this time, so we had to scale it right back. And then second lockdown came, and this time we scaled it up again, but this time we actually moved it for when the restaurants closed, reopened after second lockdown, to a new unit, which is in the neighbouring village. So it's got its own workforce, its own team. It's a separate arm of the company, and it's absolutely flying. And very, very, very proud of the team down there. And there's lots of expansion sort of coming, and we're still doing a fair amount of business. So it's here to stay. Obviously the restaurants are very, very busy at the moment with what's gone on in the last couple of months. So it's quite difficult to get a table. So there is that element, which, if you can't have a table, then take a meal and cook it yourself at home. But there's still a lot of people that don't want to go to restaurants, and they want, they quite like to sort of have a posh sort of meal in their own kitchen. And we designed the menus with that in mind. We want to take the pressure out of it. We want to create these easy steps and a product which was quite easy to get to the plating stage, and then it's up to you to create your own masterpiece. You know, it's pretty easy to bring the food to the plate, but then, you know, you let your creativity really speak and go for it. So it's a lot of fun, I think. So we've taken the pressure out, and people really enjoy it, and you know, hopefully it's going to carry on and get even stronger.
Well, certainly, I know Emma behind the scenes has actually bought a box for her mother, I think, for her birthday. I know plenty of members that have been doing this on the regular, and it does feel like a treat at home. So
yeah, and it's nationwide now. You know, it's you know, we've even sent them over to Northern Ireland, so it's really kicking off to all parts of the country. So I'm quite humbled and you know, thankful for the custom. Yeah, it's something that if you asked me a few years ago we'd be doing this, I would have sort of laughed, but it's a real essential part of our business now, and it's going to get even stronger.
Yeah, and lovely to be able to bring, you know, I love seeing where our members are dialing in from. I have the same experience from wine tastings. I never thought I'd be doing them to a webcam, and actually it's even more amazing in some ways. You know, we're connecting so many people around the country over food and wine, which is incredible.
Yeah.
And Stuart's made a brilliant comment, which I can't help not to share, which is that it's nice that you can lick the bowls at home, perhaps not so acceptable in the restaurant.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, people do try, actually. Yeah.
Lovely. So we've got a few more minutes, and I thought I was going to ask you about how you prepare and choose the menu, but it sounds like the most important thing maybe is making it easy for the end user. So what's the prep time in your just a wild comparison for a chef to create something at the pass in one of the restaurants compared to us at home?
Well, it's probably a lot quicker because there's like 15 chefs on a service. So, you know, they just chuck all the ingredients at me and I just quickly put it onto the plate. So it's actually quite quick in the restaurant. Everyone's got their own job and own purpose, and you know, we absolutely smash through it. But I mean, yeah, I think the menus that say we create, they are done to make it keep you relaxed, not get too stressed, and to really enjoy your evening. And you know, it is a taste of Cumbria, it is a taste of our farm generally, especially when the farm's in full swing. So it's the next best thing to not being in our restaurants.
Oh, fabulous. Thank you. And just as we do have probably just 5 more minutes, I wonder if you could maybe expand on Longclume, where it's come from, I would say, in the last 20 years. You know, what about this year gave it that 3rd star? What do you think was the driving force behind that?
Well, I mean, there's a number of facts, I think. Sort of definitely over the last couple of years, well, for the first time since 2011, when we opened our first restaurant outside of the Lake District, I've not been able to go anywhere. So my feet have been well and truly stuck in Cartmel. Not stuck, but they are, you know, entrenched in Cartmel. And I've been working, you know, alongside the team, who, you know, what a team they are. They're a 3-star winning team, so they are the best team that, you know, we've ever had. So, you know, it's been a massive team effort. So I've been there with the team for the last 2 years, cooking side by side with them non-stop, and they've just been really eager to get on. It's been very consistent. The produce from the farm, with the new head grower John Rowland that's been coming to the restaurant, the ingredients have been better than they've ever before. So it's just a culmination of a lot of things. And as a company, we're a lot stronger as well, from Sam Ward, the MD, who set up this senior management team that really lets, you know, the guys on the ground really concentrate on their creativity, and getting the job done. You know, there's no stress. It's a massive all-round team effort. So yeah, I mean, it's a number of things, and you can't really pinpoint one, but yeah, I think we've been at that standard now, or, you know, cooking, sort of knocking on the door for a few years now. Probably a lot of people say we've been favourites to get 3 stars since we got second in 2013, but 2011. Yeah, it's just the way it is, and keep your head down, cook for your customers, try to improve the guest experience the best it can possibly be, and hopefully these things come along. So we're very pleased, and it's every chef's dream
it is amazing
to achieve that accolade, and to be only one of 8 and the first restaurant outside London and the surrounding areas to get that is pretty mind blowing. So there's been lots of facts and figures thrown at me. I can't
bathing in them.
Can't believe that, and one of only 13 in history in the UK to achieve 3 stars. So I'm extremely honoured and very proud.
Yeah, quite right too. A couple more questions on Leclume, and then we'll let members get themselves prepared. And I actually might ask you a question, slightly less personal question, but semi-personal. I've never been. I've not been lucky enough to go, but I'm guessing that you still celebrate seasonality. How regularly do you have to change the menu there at the restaurant?
It sort of changes all the time. We're coming up to the season now, and it violently changes. Not to disgust the chefs, but it's like, oh my God, it's like we know we're going to be busy. But it's normally like that in the winter as well, because we do a lot of preservation in the summer months. We overproduce our ingredients, and we preserve when the ingredients are at their best, either fermenting, pickling, clamping, all sorts of ways. Unfortunately, this winter, we've sort of not got as many ingredients as we normally have, because this winter we pretty much used them all last year because it was so busy. I mean, it was just unbelievable. Every time we came out of lockdown, it was just like bang, lunch and dinner every single day, and it was relentless. So to combat that this year, we've now doubled the size of the farm, and we should be able to cope this time with our, providing the ingredients for preservation to last us through to next winter. So the answer to your question, this week I think we have 17 servings on our menu at the moment. And over the course of the next 7 days, I think 8 of them are changing.
Wow.
So, but it's been like quite a set menu for the last couple of months, because, we've only had certain things that we can use. Mm-hmm. And obviously our rules are very strict, where we only use ingredients in the UK, predominantly Cumbrian. So yeah, we've been struggling through the winter this year, but next winter we'll be fine.
So summer is the real ramping up time when everyone. Yeah,
well, the farm is the centre of everything we do. That's where the inspiration is. That's these amazing ingredients come round to our development kitchen. We have a few ideas with the sort of senior team. The team there develop them, 3 or 4 ideas, and then we come to the best one. That's simple as that, really. So sometimes it takes a week, sometimes it takes a year. It's sometimes you get lucky, sometimes it takes a bit longer.
Wonderful, thank you. Now my sort of personal question was going to be, what would you have paired with this dish? What would be your go-to wine to pair with your smoked eel?
I would say, you mentioned actually, I would say
Chablis or Riesling with
Riesling I would have put with that. I really like that. It's really refreshing, and it really cuts through all those flavors in the dish. I think it is one of the wines that we do pair with that dish, because that dish is actually served in Rogan and Company.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so most of the at-home ideas and techniques and ingredients are from the menu at Rogan and Company. Hence why there's banana on your dessert menu tonight. So we don't use bananas at Leclume. So it's a bit more eclectic at Rogan and Company, where we allow sort of ingredients from other parts of the world, basically.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the banana farm.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Simon, for that great chat. I loved hearing about the provenance of the foods, and then loved hearing a little bit more about what you're up to now is, and also well, the whole works at home and in restaurants. So that's great. Thank you.
There's so much going on now. I mean, it's just unbelievable, and trying to find the hours in the day to cope is incredible. But obviously, it's a very tough time as well. With the cost of living and skill shortages in our industry as well. So it's not all moonlight and roses. It's a tough market out there.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much, Simon. We'll what we'll do, members, is we will take another break, and I've got some basic instructions again on the screen. I think anybody who missed out on the email now has it, so you should have the full instructions from Simon's kit, but also my little extras, topping up white wines and pouring Chianti, and if you haven't already done so. So I'll pop the shared screen back up, and if we can all meet back here at 8:05, that would be absolutely fabulous. And I think Simon's looking forward to having some Chianti, so am I.
Right now.
So we'll see you then. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Thank you so much for keeping prompt and keeping on time, members, as well. Hopefully you all sat down. I think without further ado, because husband has managed to serve the goods on time, I think, Simon, if you'd be able to tell us about this absolutely gorgeous dish.
What, the shoulder?
Yes, please. Actually, tell you what, could you do both this time? Is that all right? Because we didn't do the veggie last time and I feel a bit bad. So if you don't mind doing both, that would be lovely.
Yeah, okay. So obviously, Herdwick lamb. Yeah, I mean, it's world-class products we use all the time. Ours comes from a farm just up the road in Filmere, near to Keswick. So we use the shoulder. I think it's got the best flavour. Braise it for 24 hours. Stuff it, braise it for 24 hours. And then we got the lovely new season asparagus from what's it called? Just completely just lost. Anyway, we got the henna lords mushrooms. I'll go back to that. The artichoke, watercress, just a lovely flavoursome dish. Val of Evesham asparagus. Once again, spraying on a plate, all the ingredients that are available to us at this moment, which is not the most fruitful time of year, but we always look forward to when Jersey Royals and asparagus and things like that come. And watercress, which starts to appear in the beck, which runs alongside our farm. So, everything's starting to emerge, and that's our spring menu.
Gorgeous, thank you. And we've got the leek alternative, I think, for the vegetarians this evening.
Yeah, so same garnish, but basically treating the leek the same, which is braised and same garnish. So yeah, we try to keep it like the leek can be just as important as a piece of meat, and as some lamb, so we treat it in exactly the same importance, exactly the same respect as what we would the lamb shoulder.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So for me, this was, you hear lamb and you can get, I've already got the lamb is amazing. The lamb is a triumph. There we go. Plenty of people agreeing with me, but you never know, when you get sent a menu, I have to buy the wines in advance. You never quite know what the lamb texture is going to be like, or is it going to be very smoky? Is it going to be very charred? But for me, this is just so fresh and soft and almost subtle. It's got this.
Yeah, it's that's another reason why we use it. It's the most consistent of cuts, really, and there's lots you can do to utilize it. If it comes in a little bit fatty, you can take the fat out. Sometimes you get what you get with a rack of lamb or a leg of lamb. With the shoulder, you can manipulate it, and it's the secrets in the cooking. That long, slow cooking over 24 hours. Just takes it to the next level, and it's a very consistent product.
Yeah, I mean, it melts in the mouth.
About it, it's very, very consistent.
Lovely. So for me, pairing this was such a joy. Actually, it was such a joy to do, because there was a lot going on the plate. So when I'll start quickly with the white wine, because obviously I've spoken about what the white wine is all about. But I would like to just mention why I think it works with this dish as well. So I think there's a certain herbaceousness in the wine that lends itself to things like asparagus, and obviously you mentioned the watercress, and those sort of additional flavors for me meant that actually the white wine worked well. And because that lamb is so light and delicate, even though it's the white wine has enough unctuousness, horrible word, and richness and texture that it can work. And I'm almost gutted that I haven't got it with the leek, because I think possibly this could be an absolutely stonking wine with the leek as well. And you mentioned the fat on the lamb. I think the freshness of both of these wines, I've picked two really high acid wines here, and that's been really important for me for this dish, to make sure that we get that nice cutting through of the fattiness of the lamb, and then obviously the slightly creamier artichoke, etc. as well. So that's why I thought the white wine worked. I hope members agree. But I'll tell you a little bit about the red wine, and Simon, I know you were excited about this one. So It is a Chianti Classico, and it is owned by the estate is owned by the Fontodi family. So a lot of members will be familiar with Giovanni Minetti, who started Fontodi in the late 60s, although the family have been in Chianti forever. But the estate Fontodi was started in the 60s by Giovanni, who's a bit of a legend. And this particular wine is from a site called, well, the little site it's on is called Filetta. And sorry, terrible Italian pronunciation, but it's one of the highest sites in Chianti Classico. So it's 620 meters above sea level, which is one of the really highest, coolest sites. And what it does to the grape growing is it preserves this freshness. It's got very cool nights. It cools down much quicker than the other sites in the flatter parts of the plain. So Giovanni basically convinced his cousin that this is a site he wanted to work on, and his cousin works with him to tend the 7 hectares of this vineyard. So it's a real family affair, this wine, which I love. They only started this particular label to produce this single vineyard wine in 2014, so it's relatively new in the world of wine. But it just allows the Sangiovese grape to shine. And Sangiovese, the grape that goes into Chianti, or majority wise, I think it has to be minimum 85%, but the real people that respect the grape do 100. Sangiovese is gorgeous for me with lamb because it's got some generous fruits, some berries. Members who have the 2017 might pick up a little bit, I've got the 17, a little bit more of that kind of slightly mushroomy, slightly earthy note that it's starting to get, maybe even tobacco. So for me, that goes really, really well with the mushrooms on this dish. But it's still got this berry floral touch that keeps it light. I've heard this particular wine described as even Pinot Noir-esque, and I can understand why. Pinot Noir is lovely with a lighter lamb dish anyway, and I did try a few Pinot Noirs, but the Chianti won. It's pretty low intervention in terms of winemaking. They make the wine they ferment it in concrete vats, so they keep that pretty neutral, and then they do age it for 24 months in various sizes of French oak. So you're not getting an overly oaky wine by any stretch. There'll be older barrels. Instead, you're just getting this lovely development. So lightness of lamb, lightness of and freshness of the wine. You could have a lamb on the barbie that's been absolutely barbecued to within an inch of its life, and it would be great with a Grenache Syrah blend from Australia. Or you could have a real roast leg that would be great with a Bordeaux. But for me, this needed a bit of subtlety and a sort of sophisticated touch, and that was the aim of my game here. So hopefully members like it. Simon, what did you think?
Yeah, I thought it was delicious. Yeah, it's got a real spiciness to it as well. I think almost licorice-like. Yeah,
I completely agree.
No,
a little aniseed note. Yeah. Oh, I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah. I do like them anyway, but yeah, it's really good with the lamb.
Great. And for me, the tannins aren't too much either. There's that nice bit of mouth coating, which is important when you're eating a meaty dish or a leeks actually as well, are pretty, not chewy, that's the wrong word, but important to have a little bit of tannin to coat the mouth, but not too much here that it overpowers the dish. So it's got these layers of subtlety for me that I think is actually ridiculously good value for money as well. And Chianti is just at the top of its game at the moment, so a wonderful wine to drink with it. So I have a few questions through, Simon, that if we could, whilst people are nibbling, finishing off, enjoying, etc., I thought I'd run through a couple of questions now, because actually it might help. Then I apologise, you can nip off as soon as we've chatted on the final. Yeah, otherwise I feel so guilty keeping all your lovely diners waiting.
Hopefully I can answer them.
So I've got a couple of questions. This is a question for now because it's about the lamb in particular. Normally Herdwick lamb is served as hogget. Is this really lamb or is it hogget? And I apologise if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly.
It's lamb. It's Herdwick lamb. Yeah, it's up to 2 years old. So that's lamb, and anything over is hogget. But I use hogget as well. Hogget's fabulous. It's a bit more stronger in flavour, which suits my palate a little bit more. But this is actually lamb, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I've got a few questions pertinent to this particular dish, so I'll carry on if that's all right. I've also had another member ask, what is your favourite cut of meat and why?
Well, lamb shoulders got to be up there actually, with the best of them. Belly pork as well. All the fatty things, all the naughty fatty things are my favourites. Duck, I like everything, to be quite honest. Yeah, I prefer not to go for the posh things like fillet steaks and things like that. I like the cheaper cuts, full of flavour with the right amount of fat content to them.
Great, thank you. And I've got another question about the hen of the woods. Somebody has asked, are they cultivated or wild? And if they are wild, how widely available are they?
These ones are cultivated because we use so many of them. They're not around at the moment, but we get ours from a supplier down in Hampshire who I've used for a very long time. We do occasionally try to cultivate them ourselves. We've got a barn at the farm, so we've got a nice dark attic that we can put them up there, and you get a kilo free of charge. So it's great when you can get hold of the spores. But we use so many of them; they're generally farmed.
Brilliant. I mean, yeah, my dad is an avid mushroomer, and I always get really worried about picking them myself. But hen of the woods, I have to say, are some of my favourite mushrooms in the whole world. So
yeah, they're incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, they're a beautiful mushroom. So there we go. They're cultivated, and Emma, they're not very widely available. The answer is unfortunately Emma Norris.
Funny enough, I bought a packet the other day in Sainsbury's as a mixed wild.
No, I meant the wild ones. They're not growing at the moment.
Okay. There was hen of the woods in the mixed wild mushrooms in Sainsbury's, so you can get them. It's they're delicious.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So I've got this is sort of a question. It's not necessarily about the dish, but they have a member has said, after serving the main, I clearly need to buy more small saucepans. They said tiny saucepans. Would Simon have a particular brand that he would recommend?
Well, the ones that we use in the restaurant, because they're the only ones that really make a small one, are Moviel.
Okay.
They make a nice sort of 10 centimetre pan, which it goes on the stove nicely. Or otherwise, you've got a big pan to serve a little bit of sauce. So they're the ones we normally pick for that size of saucepan.
Perfect. Thank you very much. That's a handy question for me. Yeah, we always seem to have loads of big pans and no small ones. So husband has done well downstairs.
It's quite hard to get hold of, actually, unless you get the really, really dinky ones when you can't, they're too small. So yeah, we're waiting for someone to come on the market with the perfect size pan.
There we go. We need more dinky pans. Yeah. Lovely. So I've got a few more questions, if it's all right, and then actually we're doing well ahead of time, so we'll do these questions and then I'll see where we're at, and it might be that we're actually able to talk about the next course as members are prepared, before members prepare it. So we'll answer these ones first though. So I have got another question. This Emma's compiling the questions for me, and she says, this all feels a little truth or dare, but I think it's quite a good question. Would you, in your personal life rather than professional, I suppose, would you rather pick a starter or a dessert if you could only have one? Starter. Yeah.
I'm a savoury man. I like desserts, but I wouldn't be too upset if I didn't have one.
Great stuff. Yeah, I'm the same. I often order multiple starters. I find they're very creative, particularly in good restaurants. There can be some incredible.
I eat a lot, so I normally get to the dessert as well. So I don't normally have that choice. I normally eat a lot. So
the conundrum. So again, in a little bit of a fun Q&A, we've also had a member ask, what would be your desert island wine?
Well, I do like a cheeky Morgon. I like Beaujolais, and I've always got a case on the go of Morgon in my cellar. So that's my go-to wine. that I drink, quite regularly.
Yeah, actually, do you know what? Morgon was on my nearly included list to taste
I
with.
thought, it was very similar, like similar aspects to it. So, it's, that's why I like the wine a lot, because it's close to my favorite.
Good. Yeah. I mean, Sangiovese and Beaujolais, there are so many similarities in terms of grape varieties with that really lovely fresh acidity. It sort of starts life as quite a fruity wine and then evolves, giving it a few years age to get some of those earthy notes. So yeah, in a blind tasting, I have to be honest, I wouldn't put it past myself to mix the two up in a high pressure blind tasting. There's so many similarities.
I've got that berry, very similar berry content, like similar taste. So
absolutely. Oh, well, members, if you're prepared to try this again, we'll have to try it with the Morgon next time. I've had another question as well about the truffles, because I know that there was a truffle option. So Sharon's asked, why did you decide to add them? They are really delicious.
Why wouldn't you add truffles? I mean, we're on our last stocks at the moment of our preserved truffles. So we only use truffles. We don't use truffles from outside the UK anymore. We used to go, I couldn't imagine my menu without truffles on them. So we used to go where they were in the world, Spain, France, Italy, Australia. We thought we had to have them on the menu. Now, obviously, our sustainability aspects and trying to keep that as tight as possible. We only use UK truffles now, predominantly in Wales. That's where all our truffles come from. We've had an amazing crop this year. And it's the perfect way to enhance a meal, a little bit of truffle in it, isn't it, really? One of my favorite ingredients, especially, to give that vegetarian dish that air of decadence. So that's why.
Great answer. Yeah, why not is really the question, isn't it? That leads me on to another question. Is there anything that you can't source with your new sustainability measures that you think, oh, I wish we could, but we can't? Is there anything?
Simply lemons.
Lemons,
yeah. I mean, there's nothing more valuable in a chef's toolbox than a lemon. To squeeze something into some mushrooms or to a sauce, just to heighten the acidity. To bring it, right up to full flavour. So acidity is really important to us. So we've had to learn to adapt and to apply it in different ways. We produce lots of vinegars, lots of our berries, and looking for natural acidity in our cooking. So great just to be able to squeeze a lemon into a sauce, but they're the rules. We don't do it.
Yeah, and it's amazing. We take things like that for granted.
Yeah,
well,
we make lots and lots of vinegars, all different flavors. So that's how we achieve it generally.
Amazing. What an amazing fact. Thank you. So I've got a couple more questions, and then I think we probably will have time to talk about the final dish. And I won't force members to get the wine yet, but at least we can talk about the dish and your things, and what came of it. But I have a great question, and I was really excited to ask this one. Are there any up and coming young chefs that Simon thinks we should keep our eye on?
Probably many. There's one guy I'm really excited to visit a restaurant. I've had reservations a couple of times, but due to COVID, they've had to be cancelled, either by me not being able to go or them having to close. So a guy called Sven Hansen-Britt at a restaurant called Oxeye in London. So I've known Sven for quite a long time. I really like his cooking style. He's just recently opened. Obviously, he opened just as COVID hit, unfortunately. But I predict a very big future for him. He won MasterChef Professionals as well a couple of years ago. So really, really eager to go and see what he's up to. So yeah, I'll mention Sven.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Yeah, I was excited about that question. A great question. I've forgotten which member asked it. Apologies.
Sorry to all those people I didn't mention. I'm sure there's lots of guys that have been through my kitchens that are opening up here, and people that I've worked with. Some very exciting openings that are going on at the moment. So, but mentioning one, Sven. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Pretty tough time to start a kitchen, I imagine, or start in this climate. You mentioned about staff shortages. I'm guessing that's a really big challenge at the moment.
Yeah, it's a huge challenge. It was even before COVID, obviously with Brexit, the abundance of EU nationals that we are able to have in our employment, they've gone now, and it's very difficult to get them, and a lot of them don't want to come back. So there was a massive skill shortage. We sort of tried to remedy that by our Chefs Academy. So we take on 15 chefs a year, apprentices, 5 for each of the 3 restaurants in Cumbria. And I'm really glad to say we've still, after coming up for a year now, we've still got 13 of them out of the 15, which is
good.
Amazing. And there's a very healthy percentage that are female, which is also amazing. So I think there's probably 6 females in my kitchen at Lonclean at the moment, which is a good number. It's good to have a nice contingent of females in the kitchen. So yeah, I've been really really happy with the standard that's come to us, and they're local as well, majority of them, and as a local restaurant connected to its surroundings, what better than youngsters that live in the locale to come and work in your restaurant, because they're the most passionate about where they live and what's going on around them. And seeing guys that progress through my kitchens to go and work in other kitchens around the world, it's a massive inspiration to them. So sub front of house as well, not so much of a take up on that. So it's very difficult to persuade a UK person that this is an amazing trade to be in. Being in hospitality front of house is a massive skill, and you can do very well at it. So we haven't quite got there yet. Hopefully that won't be too far away. But yeah, I mean, skills wise, it's still an issue. We're very, very busy, and we want to be busier, but we can't because we don't want to overextend ourselves. So
yeah, of course. And on that point, just before I ask, another member has asked a question, but on that point, how do you, since we're on a wine talk, how do you work with the sommeliers in your restaurant? And has that been a challenge? I know there's a massive sommelier shortage in the UK as well.
Thankfully, or annoyingly, Val, our sommelier, he's still with me. Been with me for a long time. No, I love him. He's amazing. So he's been one of our essential members of staff. See, like you mentioned, the last couple of years, the service side. I don't think I mentioned the service side, the service team, and the sommelier team. They've really stepped up to the plate as well. So we produce the food. Val comes along and we discuss what are the certain options, and we have a bit of a debate like we do on everything. It's a bit of a committee sort of thing. It's not anyone cracking the whip. We come to a group decision, and hopefully we come to the right one. So yeah, it's simple as that. We produce the food, he produces a few options, and we choose the best one.
I'm not surprised he's still with you. I think being your sommelier would probably be quite high on most wine professionals' list of dream bucket jobs in the world. So
hopefully you would think that, but yeah, we still have issues every now and again, trying to get the right staff, but touch wood, we're doing okay at the moment.
Fabulous. So I've got one more question from a member who has asked, what is in the sauce?
For the lamb?
I think the lamb, yes. I think that's from Gary, if you can confirm in the chat, Gary, but I think it's the yeah. Let's go with the lamb until he tells me otherwise.
Yeah, it's just a sauce made from the roasted bones, basically. So we have a really neat sort of big cooker that can make a really intense stock, and it's quite economical as well. So it's a pressurized cooker. So you bring it up to the boil. As it hits the boil, you sort of it pressurizes itself. Turn the power off. Leave it overnight. You come back the next morning. Let the air in. Pass it off, and then reduce it down, and you get a really lovely meaty, obviously lamb stock full of absolute flavour.
It really is full of flavour. Gary has said thank you. Amazing. So, and Stu has commented saying, oh, I've just lost it. Yes, I'd like to know that too, Gary. The difference between pro and amateur chefs seems to be the quality of the sauces. The sauce with the lamb was stunning.
Good. Thank you.
Right, well, that takes us up to our next break. So we talked so much, I didn't get to talk about the pudding, but that's hopefully fine with you, Simon, if we do it. This is the quickest break. So members, you have 10 minutes. Start your timers. 10 minutes, but this is a lovely, nice and easy, and I think playful dessert. So I hope you enjoy making it as much as I did when I first had to make it. Here's your joining back with us at 8:45, and don't forget to pour your Coteau de Leon as well. So lovely, and we'll see you in 10 minutes. Thank you all. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that you've done better than my husband, who yet again forgot to set the timer, so mine's going to be delivered yet again. But welcome back, everybody. I'm just going to pop Simon's video back on as well. Hello, Simon.
Hello, yeah.
I'm very excited to talk about this one. So I'm going to hand over straight away to you and talk about this delicious dish.
Yeah, well, they contain three of the things that are pretty much the most outlawed things in the kitchen at Long Clean, to be honest: bananas, chocolate, and vanilla. We've just thrown the kitchen sink at this one and used them all. So I absolutely love vanilla. I eat a horrendous amount of bananas, I'm ashamed to say. And chocolate's one of my real weak foods that I just can't say no to. So putting them all together with some peanuts as well, you know, it's a great pairing, and a really lovely indulgent way to finish a meal.
It really is. And I mentioned it earlier, but it's sort of an elevated home comforts dish for me. Banana bread is a staple in our house. And so once I tried this, I don't think I can go back to normal servings of banana bread.
Yeah. And obviously, you know, desserts, we need to do things that travel well as well. So we're very mindful about things, the type of things that we use, and, you know, doing nice warmed up cakes and texture and surrounding them by all those different textures and flavors is a great way to serve a dessert that travels, you know. So
brilliant, thank you. Yeah, it was again another revelation to me, but it's such a nice way to serve it as well, you know, broken up. It's got all this, it's got a real nice visual appeal to it. So
yeah.
But when mine arrives, I'll I'll dig in. But wine wise, so I would be lying if I didn't say that this was well, this is in my top 5 sweet wines in the world. I think there's a few others up there, but this particular producer, I think, has absolutely nailed the Premier Cru Chaume, which is in the Coteau de Léon, which is part of the Loire Valley. The Premier Cru itself is the Chaume, so it's got some different rules and regulations. There are other sweet wines along the bank of the Loire, but this appellation is specializes in sweet wine, very low yields, so 25 hectolitres per hectare per litre allowed. So that's, you know, maximum. And the way they pick it is all by hand. The whole appellation isn't allowed to do anything else. And they do successive passes, a little bit like they do in Sauternes. So they'll walk through the vines and check for overripe Chenin Blanc, because this is 100% Chenin Blanc. So for those overripe berries, and they'll pick those. And then occasionally it's close to the river, and occasionally there's some botrytis flavors in there as well. I can't pick any definitive botrytis notes up in this one. I suspect this is not botrytized, but members, if you are picking out any of those sort of more tropical flavors, that tends to be what the botrytis is bringing. I thought this was a great little link, perhaps, as well, that the family that own this chateau have owned it since 1996, but they actually bought it from a chef, Gaston Lenotre. So one of the most famous pastry chefs in France, who I believe is, was it the opera cake? I think he's credited with inventing. So nice to bring it back to one of the world's most famous pastry chefs, and our very own one of the world's most famous chefs this evening. So I thought quite a nice link. But it wasn't actually, I was telling Simon before the call, this wasn't even on my list of wines that I chose. When I see bananas on a dish, I immediately think of Sauternes, and Sauternes does have that botrytis, and it does tend to bring the tropical flavors. So you can actually get banana flavors in Sauternes, along with your things like pineapple and mangoes. But I tried this dish with 2 Sauternes, lucky me, and a Monbazillac, and I also tried it with a couple of Vendanges Tardives, and I thought, I know that there's something more that I want to give this. And I actually had a bottle of this on my rack, got it out, tried it warm, much to my husband's disgust. But there is something about this wine. It's got almost like a slightly spicy, slightly sweet pastry note to it that I think goes really well with the cakey element. You mentioned, you know, it can be quite hard to pair some wines with cake, but this has enough richness and texture to go with the cake. There's less sugar in it than there would be for, pardon me, a Sauternes. That's just over 100 grams per litre of residual sugar, so far less than your Tokais or those sorts of wines. But for me, it's something that Chenin Blanc brings is this intensity of fruit. It's so rich. It's got kind of honeyed notes. It's got almost caramelized apple notes. And I think that caramelly note for me is when I did this pairing, and I still can't do it, naughty husband. But when I did do this pairing to try it, was that kind of caramelized flavor for me that worked so, so well. So hopefully members are enjoying it. We've said a lot of people saying a triumph on the chat, Simon, and I think that's for you. Yes, Simon, a triumph. Not from my wine pairing.
Wine now. I mean, I've had a glass of Night Timber and a glass of red, but I don't think you can stretch it to a glass. Or I'll have to have when I get home from work tonight. I'll crack open the bottle, I think.
Exactly, it's definitely worth it. It's such a nectar, this wine, without being cloying. And because Chenin Blanc has this amazing high acidity, I think what works quite well, because chocolate's always really tricky to pair with wines as well. And again, you might think chocolate, let's go for a port or something like that. But the thing about Chenin Blanc is it's got such amazing high acidity and can develop wines with such richness and such complexity that it kind of married a bit of everything. So yes, that's why I chose it. I hope that members are enjoying it. Don't buy too much of it, everyone, because it's my favorite. Save some for me. But yes, I hope that the pairing works for everyone. And I hope that, I hope they enjoy it as much as I have. So we did have one more question that I thought was really interesting. And then I hope members won't mind. But if there aren't any more questions that come in, of course, we should let Simon go and help all the other chefs in Le Clume. But I would say
doing a favour by keeping me here.
Well, I've had a really lovely question, which is sort of a half question. Oh, my pudding's arriving. It's sort of a half question and a statement, I guess. Somebody said, we've seemed to have a lot of great places. Thank you. Delicious. We seem to have a lot of great places to eat currently in the Northwest. Do you think you've been an influence?
I'd like to think so. I suppose, accolades are great and you always have ambitions of achieving certain things. But I think for me, I was part of a generation that trained under some pretty immense chefs, the groundbreakers, the people that really pushed the boundaries, the Marco Pierre White, the Roux brothers, the Nicola Dennis, Pierre Kaufman, all these guys, they were like gods, and they were revered, and they created a whole different new generations of chefs to go off and do other things, And I suppose I just wanted to do something that made a difference, so that when I hang up my apron, if I've done half as much as what those guys have done, I'd be very, very happy, But once I hang up my apron, I'd like to be known as someone that made a little bit of a difference, that inspired some other guys to go off and do even better things. So yeah, I'd like to think that is the case, and if so, then I can retire quite quickly. No, I'm never going to retire. There's too much to do. But yeah, obviously we've got a winning formula. And winning formulas get mimicked, which is all well and good, and it's great for us because when we do get mimicked, then we go off and what are we gonna change now, and what do we need to do to stay at that forefront? So it pushes us onto bigger and better things. So it's great just to be part of the Northwest movement at the moment, especially in the Lake District. I mean, there's the most Michelin stars outside of London now in the Lake District, and there's going to be a few more this year. I was a bit surprised there wasn't so many this year, although I was very happy with mine. But I thought there'd be a few more ones. But I think this year that we will see that. So Cumbria gets stronger and stronger every year, which is absolutely amazing.
Sort of becoming a gastronomic epicenter of the UK. And I know a lot of our members travel for food and wine. And it's wonderful to have people heading to that part of the world and enjoying that part of the world along with amazing food and wine.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the most amazing places to live and work in the UK, and add that to the people and the surroundings, the beauty and the products, the provenance, the quality of life. I mean, it's attracting really talented people up here, and it's, like I say, it's going to get stronger and stronger.
Well, on that incredibly positive and heartfelt note, actually, I would like to say a huge thank you, Simon.
Thank you for having me. I hope everyone's really enjoyed their meal and their wine pairings. So bit annoyed I'll not be eating myself. I could have got one myself, but
you're on the run. It's fine. We've been a pleasure to have you. Honestly, I would just say to members, when we booked this in, we wanted to do a food kit, and Brooke, the lovely Brooke, who's been helping behind the scenes, sent me an email and said, would Simon be able to do it? And I said, yes, please.
Well, she never sent me a meal kit, Brooke, but anyway, no, I mean, yeah.
Well, at least I sent you the wine, Simon.
Yeah,
so
I've had 2 very nice glasses of wine, and I'll have another 2 when I get home tonight.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. Thanks, Emma and Brooke behind the scenes. Again, a huge thank you, Simon. And thank you, members, for supporting events like this. It makes my job unbelievably easy. I think I have the best job in the world. And with a large glass of my beautiful sweet Shannon, I'd like to just raise a glass to Simon, and I'm sure members will be doing the same at home. Thank you and good luck with service.
Thank you very much. Good night, everyone.
Good night.